All right then, so what does the future look like for videographers with all this AI malarkey going on? So I've spent a lot of time looking into this, and I've compiled it into one sheet, and we're going to go through it now, nice and quick. So let's jump into it. Okay, so wondering who gets that little reference there. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Here we go. So this may feel like one of those moments where everything's moving too fast. The tools are changing daily, and you're left thinking, "Am I already behind?" You're not. Let's not pretend it isn't overwhelming. I certainly feel overwhelmed with everything. Millions of people trying to sell you things online. All these new AI tools, each doing different things. It's so overwhelming. To me, it is anyway. And I know for a lot of guys in our community, we've spoke about it. Between the AI hype, client expectations, and the pressure to stay relevant, this can feel like a weird cocktail of anxiety, confusion, and burnout. I've definitely felt anxiety and confusion, without a doubt. And no doubt others have felt burnout due to all this pressure. So here we are with everything simplified on one page. Okay, no fluff, no tech jargon, just a simple breakdown of what's shifting, what's staying, and what you actually need to focus on if you want to not just survive but stand above the growing noise. Okay, if you're feeling uncertain, then good, that means you're paying attention. Okay, now let's clear the fog. So what I've done is put it into 4 sections: part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. So part 1, what AI is changing. Okay, so automated, streamlined by AI. So basic video editing, like cuts, transitions, basic color, audio balance. If you follow my page, the reels that I do, that I put up, AI is going to be able to do stuff like that. It already is doing stuff like that. Basic, just very basic, template stuff. Like templates in things like CapCut are getting very easy to do, and with AI, then knowing where to implement each part of the template, that is on the way out for people. Cuts, transitions, basic color grading, audio balancing, quick turn social content using templates, as I just said, AI generated B-roll and background assets. Now this is a big one. Like the actual footage that AI can generate is frighteningly good, but there's only there's a big difference between somebody who's really good at shooting nice shots and nice angles and nice lighting and making it look aesthetically pleasing. But then that's one side of things, and great if you can do that, great. But knowing why you use those shots in order to invoke certain emotions, and those emotions invoked need to be decided prior in order for a video to actually have the right function for a business. Or if it's in a film, the shot needs to be part of the story. It's got to have a function, right? It doesn't have to look amazing all the time. So B-roll can be generated, amazing B-roll can be generated, but it's a human who's going to put the prompt in and know why you need that specific shot, and to decide the details on what you want to achieve. That's what a human does with a client, all right? And background assets. So script generation via prompts and brand data. With the right prompts, you can generate really good scripts. I certainly do that for some of my reels, but I put a very, very detailed prompt in. I do 90% of the, 85% of the work, probably, I'd say. Captioning, subtitling, resizing for platforms. I mean, obviously, nobody captions manually anymore. Client onboarding and CRM automation. And this applies not just to videographers, but for everyone who has sales or lead pipeline. A and B testing of hooks, headlines, thumbnails. Obviously, designers, they're on the way out, right? Just for this sort of stuff, for thumbnails. Obviously, hooks, which is using that little 10% for AI, using it as a tool, which is what this is pretty much about. So low cost video creation will explode. So brands will flood content channels with volume. So this is the thing, right? Is what AI is able to do is not able to create quality, like true quality that comes from truly understanding a brand, their competition, their brand voice, their audience, the personality, wants, needs, and desires of their audience. That all that strategy is done with people, and then coming up with the right creative with that information, using that as the ammo you use to then go out and make the film, and the campaign, whatever it is you're doing. that is a human interaction. But then if you want low quality stuff that doesn't involve that, then you can put low quality, then AI is going to be able to put low quality stuff out en masse. So it's going to be able to focus on volume. And volume, even if the content isn't high quality, is still a very effective way for a brand to gain awareness at their top of funnel, for them to gain visibility, because it will hook on some people if you put it out en masse. So it is useful. It's not as good, in my opinion, as obviously better quality work, but it does work. So brands are able to flood content channels with volume. AI tools will produce good enough content at scale, like just what I was just talking about. That sort of content that doesn't require a great deal of strategy can be good enough to work, only if it's done in volume. But it lacks soul. That's the key word. It lacks soul, context, and persuasion. Now you may be thinking, yeah, for now, but I think we're a long way off content actually being good enough, as good as what a human can generate through conversations and understanding and emotion. So part 2, the constant, what AI can't replace. Creative functions that are still human-led. So emotional intelligence in storytelling. Brand story strategy tied to audience psychology. So I've been running 4 creators for 2 years now, and the whole time I've been banging the drum of brand strategy and understanding a brand in order to really make emotionally invoking content that has a function that makes an audience take action. And now, it's becoming more obvious and more important than ever. You've got to understand brands, and you've got to be a creative before you even think about picking a camera up. Real-time direction and adjustments during shoots. So pivoting on set, knowing when to improvise, when to create, follow the rules, when to break the rules. Only humans can do that for now. So I think we're a long way off actually having a robot on set that's going to be able to do that, and we're going to be able to communicate with it as we would a creative human in quick time. All right. Taste. Big one. Creative taste and brand tonality. Intuition of a human and resonance. A resonance being such an important word. Resonance is what makes people take action. Resonating with a brand is what all a brand wants, because that then makes them, they're in the funnel, they're aware, and they're starting to consider because it's resonated with them. And if you do that to 1 million people, you're going to get, even if 1% of those end up converted through the funnel, great. But resonance is the key thing, and only a human can do that. Relationship building. When you jump on a call with somebody, you jump in a meeting with somebody, you get to know somebody. It's a human-to-human interaction. There's an energy between two people that you can't have between a person and an AI or a robot, whatever you want to call it. That relationship building, it goes without saying, I don't need to explain this. you know what it's like speaking with a person compared to speaking with a robot. Like it just doesn't compare, and that is so important. Relationship and networking is just a huge part of your career as a videographer, as a creative. Trust, again, just echoing what I just said, trust, the exact same thing. And communications with stakeholders, right? Subtle creative leadership. Authority is far better suited to a human than to a AI. We have this natural inbuilt hierarchy between human beings, whether it's subtle or massive, right? It's just the way we're wired. And the leadership from a human, that is another word. Leadership. Humans can lead. AI bots can't. Knowing when to bend or break the rules, as I said earlier. AI may write copy, but it can't create meaning. So, part 3. So your path ahead, right? Roles that will rise in value. Like I said earlier, brand strategist with video fluency. So understanding brands. When you say a brand strategist, if you don't know what a brand strategist is, look it up. It's basically somebody who jumps into the brand and not the brand colors, or like, these are obviously my brand colors. Not that. It's like what people feel when they think about the brand. That is what branding is. Okay, like for example, Red Bull sells adrenaline. That's their brand. Coca-Cola sells happiness. That's their brand. Nike sells being part of a club and just getting on with it. Just do it. but in order to be part of the club, like that's their brand. But in order to be part of the club, you've got to buy Nike clothing or trainers. Okay, so that's what a brand strategist does. But these are things you're going to add to your. I'm not saying start a career as a brand strategist, but adding these subtle skills to your arsenal is so important. I've always said it, but especially now. Creative director who understands buyers' journeys. So not a creative director who doesn't just understand the brand, he actually understands the sales process, their marketing funnel, he understands how the audience feels emotionally at each step of the sale. Okay, very important stuff. Story consultant. So this is another thing, consulting. You want to start thinking about being a consultant to your client as well, because the old saying that we live by in the community, whoever's closest to the client gets paid the most. And if you can consult them on the creative choices in a world where I can't find my phone, but let's pretend this is my phone, everyone is looking at a screen like that all day, content creation is going to be content's going to be the thing that drives sales, even if they don't even realize it will. So if you can consult them, great. And AI can't do that as well as you. And a messaging architect, understanding the messaging. So a true creative understands how to communicate with an audience. First and foremost, they understand what they want to communicate, then how they do it in their own approach and their own execution, in our case filmmaking. That's a true creative, right? But they know, first of all, why they're doing it. And being a messaging architect is something you need to lean into a lot more. Business aware video marketer, and not just a creator. Again, pretty similar to the previous points. So being aware of their business and how their business actually works. So then if you know how their business works, how their buyer journey works, how their customers respond to things and travel through the buyer's journey, that is more ammo to begin the creative process. You need to lean into that a lot more, as opposed to the traditional videographer who's just out there shooting pretty shots, which most of the time are unnecessary. Personal brand directors, that's more for, you know, people who've got a personal brand. If you're making content for individuals like founders and CEOs, they pay frightening amounts of money for personal brand, because it just escalates them. You know, if you don't know much about personal brand, look it up. It's so important. AI-powered videographer who knows when to delegate to tech. So what we're saying here is you want to be 90% you and doing all these skills, and then 10% you need to use AI as a tool, not as a competitor. Core skills to master: narrative structure and story psychology. You're going to need to know how to tell a story, not just get pretty shots. Okay? You don't want to just be a tripod with eyes. You know what I mean? You want to be, you want to really understand how you're going to be creating value through storytelling. Communication strategy for different funnel stages. So awareness, consideration, conversion, and loyalty. How are you going to communicate with the audience at each step? These are, I bang on about this in all the content I post. If you follow me, great, you've viewed it before, maybe you viewed it elsewhere, but this is so important, like to echo that. Consulting and advisory skill set. Again, consulting your client, being close to your client, advising them what's going to be best. You need to lead into that. How you get ROI, video ROI frameworks, and actually measuring impact, measuring tangible results that you achieve with them. That's when you're an asset and you're not just someone who's disposable, a commodity. Leadership, individual, direction, and messaging alignment. Again, there's that word, leadership. In the visual direction, so the message resonates and aligns with the audience. So, and obviously this was specifically for our community, but we may as well chuck it in here as well for everyone else. Shift how we think, right? I'm not learning to edit faster. I'm learning to think sharper, because there are new tools out now that's going to help us streamline our workflows. Videographers need to learn to consult, not just to deliver. You really want to start thinking about this, consulting your client on what's going to work. But you need to understand what works, and having that, when you're able to have that communication and that trust from the client and build that trust and consult them on what's going to work best, that's the leverage you're going to have over AI. Otherwise someone else is going to do it. Lead with a mindset of content strategist over camera operator. I mean, you've viewed it before, no doubt, but you have to be a strategist. over just someone who makes nice shots and can operate a camera. Operating a camera is so minor in this broad. You want to be thinking of yourself as an asset, as a person of value. It just so happens that a camera is needed in this process to provide that value. All right, that's not the core. That's just part of the bridge there, part of the journey there. What you're ultimately delivering is a really strong outcome. That's how you need to be thinking. That's how your mindset needs to be wired. Use AI tools as leverage, not competition, as I said earlier. You need to use them and implement them into your workflow and not think they are going to replace you, because they cannot. All right? Unless you are just this person, a camera operator making nice shots, just showing up without much strategy, without really a why, shooting nice shots, chucking it together in the edit, hoping you find a little story there, thinking it's going to have some sort of function and hoping for the best. If that's you are going to get replaced. You need to start worrying if you're not ready to take on these skills. So what we're going to focus on moving forward: building human-first brand films in an AI age. How to pitch strategy, not just shoots. Obviously, we've got the most refined process, I would argue, out there on how to do this. That's where you see the guys in the community closing such good deals. Using AI without losing the creative soul. Soul being the key word there once again. Becoming the creative director clients didn't know they needed. Now, sometimes it depends on the client. Like, a lot of businesses, a lot of brands out there know they need a solid marketing strategy, a solid content calendar, solid visibility, and more resonating branded content. But some clients don't even know they needed it. And when they do invest in the right strategy, and then they earn silly amounts of more money, and they multiply their company because they had the right process in a world where everyone is looking at a screen that you just put in the brand right in front of them in the best way possible. Some people didn't know they needed that until they get it, and they can't be without it. All right, so becoming that creative director, clients didn't know they need it. Side note, apologies for the sirens. I do live very close to central London. Right, mapping the buyer's journey through strategic video assets. This starts in the sales process. So these are things you want to focus on. And remember, AI can generate content, but only humans create connection. And that's what you're looking to do. Okay? Don't focus on the camera. Don't focus on the edit. And these are important things, but ultimately the connection is what you're trying to arrive at. So the key takeaway: communicating human to human, both conversationally and creatively. So conversationally with your client to understand what needs to be done, and then creatively with the client's audience is what will keep us afloat. All right, so little 17-18 minute video running through that. Hopefully that's helpful. I haven't gone into any specific softwares or any specific processes or workflows. I think that will come next, but for now this is an overview. This is hopefully giving you some clarity, and I've done a lot of homework on this to try and really simplify it and really understand what's actually happening. And my closing sort of thought is, you haven't got anything to worry about if you're willing to take action on these sort of things. All right, so hopefully that's helpful. It's very warm in London today. Apologies for the shiny face. Hopefully it's helpful. If it was, let us know. Always got to say at the end, if you're interested in working with us, book a call. I'll put a link in the description. We'll have a chat, see if it aligns for us, see if it aligns for you, and we can go from there. If not, if this has just been helpful, great. Happy days, and see you in the next one.